everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, going back to one of my favorite pours to do, or color combinations, anywho. What we have is a rainbow. We're going to put a rainbow in a cup. We're not going to get mud because we're doing a straight pour. So there's no silicone in this painting. The colors that we are using here for the base coat slash background color here, I have Amsterdam and Permanent Blue Violet. So that is this color here, but also it's here. It's this color, and all of these other colors, the way that they have been mixed is 50% of the colored paint and 50% of satin enamels. And then I add the Floetrol to that. So I start with just the paint, and then I add the Floetrol. The colors that we have here: Liquitex Basics Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue. Now, if I used all of these colors and I used the Cadmium Yellow Light Hue, I wouldn't need to add the satin enamel to it. The light hue will sell on its own. However, the cell shape would be different than all of the other paints because the satin enamel gives you bigger cells. So I used the Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue and added the satin enamel to it because I wanted it to have more of a yellow color. If I used light hue, it would be a very pale yellow. So I wanted to be able to still have it be a, nice vibrant yellow. The orange is a mixture of the cadmium red medium hue and the yellow. This is Quinacridone Magenta. The blue is Phthalo Blue. And we have Phthalo Green. So all Liquitex paints except for the background color because I ran out of the dioxazine purple. Actually, I shouldn't say it ran out. It's been a while since I used it and it got moldy. Didn't know that my paints could do that. But, it was a big tub. I've had it for a while. So it happens, I suppose. So these paints have been mixed. 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. You could go 3 parts Floetrol. That would be okay too. The consistency that we're working with is about a 2 on my consistency scale. It makes a mound, but it disappears quickly. And I'm making a nice, thin, even stream off of my stick. If it gets thick and then thin and then thick again, your consistency is inconsistent and you need to keep mixing. Oh, I guess I should mention that also using the DecoArt Satin Enamels, Americana Decor Satin Enamels in pure white. That is what I've added to these 6 colors. This again is just straight paint, colored paint, no satin enamel. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute. But if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you all of the information that you need, the exact paint, brand, color, consistency, the recipe, all of the things that I can't fit on a card. And here we have a tip for this particular technique in this box. This is the color palette that was used in this particular painting. And you have these 2 boxes can be used as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors. Mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is put some paint in my cup. I'm going to do about 2 ounces of the purple. for the background color. And then that'll leave me about 1 ounce each of the other colors. I do like to put some of my, to put the background paint in the cup first, because I have a tendency to over pour on the base coat if I don't do that, and then I don't have enough for my base coat. So I would rather have my base coat be thin and have enough paint for my pour than to not have enough paint for my pour. I need enough of that background color to give me the reactions that I need to get those cells. So I will say this. The reason that we lay down a base coat is because we want the paint to slide around evenly and easily. Something has to stick to the canvas first, and if it is not your base coat, it will be your poured puddle, and that might not be what you want, because sometimes the coolest things happen on the edge, and having a base coat gives you the option of having negative space if you so choose. The reason that I cover my edges first is because this is a pretty thin mix, and also I'm using Floetrol, and so what happens is it might not give you the best coverage on the sides, so I like to make sure that that's covered so I don't have to come back and fix it later after it's dried. All right, going to pop some bubbles. Old Bernie 2 times. Never likes the first try. Well, almost never. When you light your torch, make sure that you light it not directly over your painting, because the first blast is extra hot and you can scorch your paint. The way that I like to do my cup is I want the color that has the most contrast with my base coat color or background color to go in last, because what happens is a little bit of that ends up at the very bottom of the cup, and that ends up in the center of my painting, and that becomes the focal point. So we will be going purple first. Always check your consistency before adding to your cup. The sauce may thicken upon standing. Okay, going to add 1 ounce. I'm trying to see my little ounce marker. I don't know if that made it to the bottom, unfortunately. That's okay. All right, so now I'm going to put a little bit of my base coat color, background color on top. All right, I am going to do a spiral. So I'm going to start in the center, trying my best to stay in the center and spin evenly. The satin enamel that I used was kind of old, so not really sure what it will be giving me. Cell-wise, this is not looking how it would normally look. As I get toward the end of my cup, I get closer to the canvas and I will spin the canvas much more slowly, being very careful because this is going to be the focal point of the painting. I am not seeing any yellow. I didn't think it made it to the bottom. Okay, so this is not really looking how it typically does. I think probably because of the age of my satin enamels. All right, gonna hit it with the torch, pop these bubbles. There are still cells that are gonna come up. I can see them starting, but it just might not be how it typically ends up. That's okay. Going to try to keep this moving because this canvas is level to the table on the other side because I'm planning on doing another painting. But also it's on this spinner, and the spinner has a little bit of wobble to it. And so it is not perfectly level. So if I keep it moving, it won't be sliding off one side more than another. All right, so I'm gonna let these cells develop, let the paint puddle percolate. What happens is the satin enamel paints are very matte. And when you have a matte paint with a glossy paint, the matte paint has a tendency to sell. So that is the idea behind adding the satin enamel to your colors to make them cell makers, even if they originally weren't. Yes, it does make them more pastels. That's why I use the deepest colors that I can get of those colors so that it is more vibrant. Yeah, I think that my satin enamels were old because this would normally be pretty loaded with cells at this point. Still gonna get cells, of course, and they're quite rainbow looking, which is cool. The longer I let this sit, the bigger those cells will get. So I want to show you, if you can see how this is dipped in. This is a dry spot. It's not dry, but it is a drier spot than what is happening here, and that's why it's fighting it. That is why I reserve some of the purple, some of my background base coat color. I can find somewhere to sit this so I can use that later too. All right. So let's give that a little touch up. Give that a little touch up. And the same thing needs to be done for the sides because the sides will set up. They'll get a little more dry, and then it will have that same effect where it won't slide over the edge evenly. So I'll just add some of this purple and just come in and make sure that's all nice and lubricated. You know, these steps will save you some headaches later on. So I believe in troubleshooting before there's trouble. I don't like to have to come back and do things to the painting after it's dry, besides varnish it. So I try to eliminate any of those kinds of things that might require touch-ups later. All right. Well, I'm not getting the kind of cells that I typically do. I may have to open up a fresh scent enamel and add that to those paints. Otherwise, all my paintings are going to not do as they're told. I mean, I am still getting cells. It's still going to be pretty. It's just not going to be exactly what I want it. So you'll see every time I pop these bubbles, little specks appear of paint from the layers underneath. The bubbles bring the paint up with it. That is why I use a base coat that is the same color as my background, because if I'm going to get tiny bubbles coming up from the base coat, even though we popped them, there are still some there. I want it to be something that blends in with the painting. If I had a white base coat and I had little white cells popping up, that would drive me crazy because there's no white in my painting. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, going to use the last of what's in here on my corners so that the corners don't give me grief. And you can see that the corners, when you do this and you're allowing the paint puddle to percolate, you're giving it some time to do what it's going to do. The bigger I allow these cells to get before I spin, the bigger they will be after I spin. That's how you get the nice big juicy cells, by being patient. I know it's hard. I have ADHD. Believe me, I know how hard it is. But, you know, if you want the best results, then you just kind of have to just do it. Be patient. Walk away if you have to. If you have to walk away and set a timer to come back in 5 minutes, do that. If it makes it easier for you. Whatever it takes to get the best results. All right, now I do have a little bit of paint left in here. So I'm just gonna, why not? Most of this is gonna get spun off anyway, but no sense in wasting it. Yeah. All right, I think I'm gonna give this a spin. Let's do it. All right, let me see if any part needs to, so when you're spinning, if you see that there's one part that's not spinning the way that you want, or it's not stretching the way that you want, you know, let's say that, you know, this side here, this is small, but let's say this side over here was a lot bigger. You can actually shift the canvas. My canvas is not attached. I can move this around. I'm not spinning fast. That's why I can do that. If you spin it, you know, too fast, then you know, you might have some issues. If you are patient and do it slow, you don't have to worry about attaching it to anything, and that will allow you to make some adjustments if necessary to which parts you want to spin more. It's kind of like on the merry-go-round on the playground, right? If you're the closer to the edge that you are, the more you're going to get pulled. And I am looking at this and I'm trying to decide composition wise, is there an area that I want to pull off more than another? And I'm thinking I'm going to shift in this direction a little bit. All right, I'm going to shift it this way a little bit. You'll see, I'm not spinning fast. This is not dripping past the corners. So you don't need, you know, a ton of space. You don't need a swimming pool to do this. You know, unless you're using a gigantic canvas, of course. Okay, and I think this way a little bit. Shifting this way, I want to take some of this off. If you have ever had a painting that was not level, you know how much it can move overnight. It can really do some traveling on you. So that's how, you know, there's no reason to spin it fast. You can spin it slow and still get the results that you're looking for. Also, when you spin slowly, you can keep an eye on what's happening. See what's going on here. I still feel like I want, that just dripped on there, naughty. Careful when you're pointing to things on your canvas that your fingers aren't drippy. Come here, you. All right. I don't think I want to spin anymore. I want to keep the cells that are here, and more cells are going to pop up in this purple. And it looks like they're going to be like rainbow cells, or rainbows in the cell, so that's kind of cool. All right, I am going to let this sit and do what it's going to do, and then I will bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, so here it is. It did fill out with cells. Got some really cool cells going on here. Lots of rainbows in a cell. Got some nice glow going on in the center. A little bit of that yellow did make it, so yay. But there it is. You can see it's started to dry on the sides. But that's how it dries. Pretty much exactly how it is when it's wet. Got some really interesting cells going on here. But there it is. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do help a sister get in that algorithm by liking and commenting, and sharing really helps. Please make sure you're subscribed, and if you are subscribed, please make sure that you have clicked the bell so you are receiving notifications of my uploads. If you're not receiving the notifications and you are subscribed, you might have to click the bell, or unsubscribe, resubscribe. I don't know what's going on, but like less than 1% of my views are coming from subscribers. I am in some kind of algorithm purgatory. Do check out the description box below for links to affiliates. That would be DecoArt. Get your hands on some of these paints, and there is a coupon code there. I'm also an affiliate with some other companies, and you'll find the coupon codes and the links in the description box. Also in the description box, you will find the link to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and the fluid art inspiration cards for sale. You will also find in the description box the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces. Ask your questions. Get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. It is the internet after all. Some folks just be cranky all the time, you know. But there it is. I guess that's it for me for today. I do hope you all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.